Okay, so I want you to go on to YouTube and go to rounding to the nearest 10, and I want you to look at this video. Here's a little bit of the video, and I want you to take
Math
notes.
Coach presents Rounding to the Nearest 10. We use rounding when we want to estimate. Rounding gives us numbers that are easy to use, like 10, 20, 30, and so on. Rounded numbers help you solve everyday problems where you don't need an exact answer. That's called an estimate. Rounding might look hard, but hey, guess what? If you know how to put numbers in order and can skip count by tens, you can learn to round any number to the nearest 10 with ease. Here are some useful things to know. You can show any number on a number line. Numbers to the right have a greater value than numbers to the left. Every number that ends in the digits 1 through 9 sits between two tens. The nearest 10 on either side of your number is a useful benchmark. And the midpoint is the number that is halfway between the two benchmarks. If the number you want to round is less than the midpoint, round down. If the number you are rounding is at the midpoint or greater than the midpoint, round up.
So the midpoint has a 5 in the tens place.
You can round any number in 4 easy steps. Let's see how. Let's round 27 to the nearest 10. Step 1.
Okay, so try it on your own. What's 27 to the nearest 10?
Figure out what benchmarks to use. Between which two tens does 27 belong? 20 is the lower benchmark and 30 is the higher benchmark. Step 2. Find the midpoint between your benchmarks. That's the number that is exactly in the middle. The midpoint between 20 and 30 is 25. Step 3. Now locate 27 on the number line. You can see that 27 is more than 25. So now you're ready for step 4. You can round. 27 is closer to 30 than to 20. So, to the nearest 10, 27 rounds up to 30. Sometimes the nearest 10 is 0. Let's round 4 to the nearest 10. The benchmarks are 0 and 10. The midpoint.
So guess what you think it may be. What 4 is rounded to the nearest 10? What number would that be?
Point is 5. 4 is less than 5. So, to the nearest 10, 4 rounds down to 0. And sometimes the nearest 10 is 100. Look at 96. The benchmarks are 90 and 100. The midpoint is 95. 96 is greater than 95. So, to the nearest 10, 96 rounds up to 100.
Okay, so if you take out your notes, I want you to write this down so you know about the midpoints. So if a number in the tens place, for instance, let's take 15. Oh, just a second. So let's take 15. 1 is in the ones place and 5 is in the tens place. So write this down here, this chart, or these notes here. So when we have 5 in the tens place, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you see the arrows pointing up, so write this down. We're gonna round up. Any number that's 5 and higher. So 5 6, 7, 8, 9, we're rounding up to the next 10. Any number below 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, in the tens place, put the arrow going down, we're rounding down. So for example, what do you think 15 is going to be rounded to if we have the number line? So we have so 15 is the midpoint, right? This is 15. And since 5 is in the tens place, where are we rounding? We're rounding up to 20. So if we ask you to round 15 to the nearest 10, we're going to round it to 20. So what do you think about rounding, let's say, 13? So look at your chart over here and look at the number that's in the tens place. So based off this chart, we're rounding which way? Down. So the 13, we have 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 is here, and we're rounding down. So if we're rounding, we're going to round 13 to what? 13 is going to change to 10. Okay, let's see. Based off this number line, I want you guys to go ahead and draw this number line on your paper. And so remember, between each 10, we're going to have 10, we have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then 20. So if you're counting by tens, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and we keep going 60, 70, 80, 90, all the way to 100. So let's say we want to round the number 41 to the nearest 10. So based off this chart here, are we rounding up or down? Ask yourselves. We're going to be rounding down because 1 is in the tens place. So 40, we have 41 is right here, right? 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. So 41 is here. And the nearest 10 to 41 is 40. So look how many spaces away we are from 50. 40 is closer to 41, so we're rounding to the nearest 10. So when it says the nearest 10, it's the 10 that's closest to that number. So the 10 that's closest to 41 is 40, not 50. So remember, when we have numbers 4 and below in the tens place, we're rounding down. When we're having numbers 5 and above in the tens place, we're rounding up. Okay, so let's try Let's try 55. And this is 60. So look at this number again. What do you think it is? Based off the number that's in the tens place and this chart over here. That's right, we're going to be rounding up because 55 is the midpoint. So 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. 55. So this is the midpoint. So for 55 is right here, and when we see the number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the tens place, we know that we're rounding where? Up. So then 55 is going to round up to 60. Okay, so make sure when you guys are drawing and writing your number lines, there's 9 spaces in between. So remember, we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then 20 is the larger line. So between 10 and 20, there's 9 spaces. Between 20 and 30, there's 9 spaces. There's 9 lines. So make sure you make your number lines to where you're counting up, and then you're rounding down based off this number here, 4 and below, you're rounding down, and then you're rounding up based off these numbers, 5 and up. Okay, bye guys.